Welcome to Bold Talk series, where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Epi Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Scilla Andreen, the founder and CEO of Impactful Networks. Scilla, great seeing you. Welcome to our Bold Talk series. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Epi.
Well, great to have you. Always looking fabulous. And thank you for joining me this Bold Talk series. We do this short format conversations to have just a normal conversation. We're connected in the world, but we don't do much of these conversations. So here we are today. So truly glad that you join us. And first thing, Scilla, can you share your personal journey? What inspired you to create Impactful Networks and step into the world of mental health advocacy and entrepreneurship?
Ooh, that's a big one. I'm going to keep it short. So I'm a filmmaker, actually started a company called Indie Flicks, co-founded it with my best friend. And in the process of creating an independent B2C subscription streaming service, have come across, of course, thousands of films, and which sort of led me into understanding, the power of film to have impact in the world and to get people talking. And so got really involved with social impact filmmaking and was involved in making some movies and getting them out into the world, like Finding Kind, Screenagers, Empowerment Project. And then the executive director of our foundation, dear friend of mine, said, you need to make a movie about mental health. I said, no, I think that sounds dangerous. Who would want to watch a movie about mental health? And then I got a call on New Year's morning that she died by suicide. And, it always just like doesn't feel real. And then I have to think back on it that it is real. And she had children and I knew she was struggling, but I didn't know it was that bad. And I started to realize that I hear that a lot. And so I just dove in and made our first film, Angst, with a group of other amazing filmmakers. And that kind of launched me into the world of mental health. And it's funny because when we first made that movie, for about 6 months, we'd been working with schools and screening it, these films in schools and creating curriculum around my past films. But this film, as much as schools knew they needed it because kids were dying by suicide, but they didn't have the resources in place to open up that conversation. So they waited. And then finally a school called because they had 2 suicides in 1 month. And they said, we're going to just screen it. We're going to start talking and we're going to figure out what resources we need in our community together. And that screening changed my world. Within 48 hours, other schools started calling. And these were in person. This was pre-COVID. And from there, it's like people were starving for some sort of lifeline, some help, some information. And we ultimately ended up screening in over 90 countries within 14 months. The film got translated into multiple languages. And we ended up creating all these materials for classroom, at home, tip sheets, like you name it, to support the conversation. And then everybody wanted to know, why is this happening? Why is the suicide rate so high, especially among kids? That's just unfathomable. And then everyone felt it was due to social media and technology. So then I made that was really fun to make. Everybody was happy to talk about mental health through that lens. And we got to learn that in social media, you're the product, right? And so they learned about algorithms. They learned about what's really happening. And it was amazing how you give people information and they just start to thrive. And then I made the Upstanders, which is about bullying. Why are people so mean online when they wouldn't be that way in person? And then made Race to be Human, which is really about how we can get on the same page with terminology. And what are microaggressions? What's allyship? This isn't a movie about racism. It's about how sometimes these very challenging, difficult conversations can affect our mental health. And that's how I ended up. I knew this was a completely separate business because it had grown so much. We were honestly licensing to states. So that's why I created Impactful Networks, to really be a place where we use story and now ethical AI and brain science to help educate people about some of life's hardest topics.
Amazing. This is truly
Thank you.
You have amazing work, and God bless you, truly. Your background from a filmmaking, bringing the conversation like this is so important because people can resonate this much better. How do you approach creating content that resonates across so many diverse audiences and age groups?
I think part of it is, and honestly, you know how like life, my grandma, my Chinese grandma, Papa, she always used to say, everything you need, you already have. And of course, as a kid, I hated that because like, I don't have $500 to go to Hawaii or, so I couldn't quite understand that. Now I get it. And so being a filmmaker, which is the way I express myself and communicate, I love, my husband he doesn't think I'm the best listener, but he thinks I'm a great talker. But I actually really love people and I love listening to their origin stories. And I just dive in because I'm curious and I want to know about people and where their thoughts come from and how did they get there? And making Race to Be Human, I, like interviewed white supremacists but I was curious how they got to that belief system. And I think people are born inherently good and we learn to be otherwise. But to them that they don't think that it's otherwise, right? So we all have our own sort of lane. And I believe that we could get along more if we just were able to approach life and people with curiosity and love and not fear and judgment. I realized also that you get people talking, especially in more intimate settings, and they'll open up to you. I know you asked me when we started, did I get any of the questions to get an idea? And it's funny because I never gave the questions to any of the people I interviewed, even a 6-year-old kid, to the parent, prep the kid, because I just wanted open, honest, unfiltered responses. And it's not about public speaking. It's about what's in here. And so, I've picked difficult topics because I was curious, not because it was timely. I just happened to be timely. And yeah, did I answer your question?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. This is truly because you have the intuition, right? And so you know how to get with. Not many people have that, and I think that's what truly makes you who you are and what you're doing today, and so powerful because you know how to activate that.
Well, but
Now,
think about it. And I mean, that's very sweet, but think about it. We all have this. It's part of our human,
yeah,
experience. But I think we get so caught up in what someone else thinks or what we're supposed to be doing. I am definitely a victim of that. But if we can pull that away and let that intuition lead us, right? Like never act out of integrity with yourself, right? There's a radar, there's a gut feeling, there's something that keeps you on your path, but we override it. We don't listen to it. How do we train ourselves to listen to it, to trust it?
yeah, that's something that not many people are able to do that
We don't get to
because
practice it.
they rather trust their brain that gets attacked 60,000 messages a day. Most of these messages are primarily, I would say, more than 90% are negative or repetitive, and you're left with very little to overcome. So, how are you able to activate the spirit that is mostly accurate all the time? But then also we get spiritual attacks too as well. So in a way, like how are you going to be able to guard that and also to be able to activate it? It's truly a skill, I would say. Everyone has it, but everyone has to work on it to make it better. Now, as a founder leading both creative and operations sides of multiple organizations, how because nothing happens without team, and I'm coming here because because I have a great team and I look at you is I can completely see a great team, but the great teams come with the great leaders. How do you build and sustain a culture that allows your team to stay motivated, mission focused, and innovative over the long term?
Great question. I could get emotional. I do have the most amazing team. And it's funny because, when you're out raising money or something, it's all about team. You need the sexiest team. You need the people from the biggest places. My team is not from the sexiest places. They didn't go to Harvard, right? But they are curious. They are intelligent. They work hard. They are devoted. I think I'm a collaborator and getting back to loving people and their origin stories. I care so much about the people. I'm curious, did they get a new cat or dog? Like, well, what'd you name it? How'd you come up with that name? Like, what does it mean to you? Like, those things actually matter to me. I care what you had for dinner. I'm curious, Epi, what you're going to have for 4th of July.
Yeah,
It's like, I actually like the little things in life. And people like social media, I used to love people like, who cares about what someone ate for dinner? I'm like, I kind of am curious. And that looks good. Can I have the recipe? Right? Like the simple things in life that we can all access. Those bring joy. And my team I love them as much as my children. And they have stuck with me They know I'm crazy. Some people call it crazy. They know I genuinely care. And, half the time we actually like hit it out of the ballpark. So there's a 50-50 chance with Sheila's crazy idea, this just might work, but it might not too. But we keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. And you said there's something right, because if you're not happy with little things, you can be happy with the big things. And one thing that I find with social media, which I think also the algorithm doesn't really help, and you know that better because you've done a film around this. But you know, today people are comparing a lot, and so social media allow them, give that tool to start to compare, instead of just being content with who you are, and what you have, right, with the little things. And so I think we're society is struggling in general, and that's why also when we look at, for example, the mental health, we talk a little about this, but everyone at somehow is already being exposed or have some kind of a depression, right? So in a way, when I look at it, like what else do we need to do? I mean, first, you're doing amazing thing with the films and bringing these conversation forward, but what else do you think it's needed, being from a technology side or being from an organization side, that we need to talk more about this stuff?
We need to normalize it, but not normalize it in a way like there's a saying that's very popular. It came from our film. It was the first time I ever heard it. And then now it's like very widespread, is that it's okay to not be okay. But I really feel like, but then you just, that's where you sit. It's okay to not be okay so that you can get help, right? Everyone feels not okay. I just did a post about I'm fine, and how that kind of doesn't really mean anything. I think we need to start, if you break your leg or you hurt yourself, it's going to heal. You know that. You've got to take some time. You've got to put some care into it. You put a lot of energy into it. You might even need crutches, right? Well, with mental health, it's the same thing. You might need medication. You've got to give it support and help, talk about it. Too bad there's no, on a cast, you can sign it. Well, in the old days. And so why can't we treat mental health like something that's happened that we then need to give attention to so that we can evolve, right? I had heard recently, like, depressed means deep rest, right? Like, it means that we're like in a deep rest state. We are going through a change, we are evolving. And I think that it's important to talk about it, but not talk about it in the same way that you are labeling yourself, putting yourself in a box, and there's no coming out of it. It's about knowing you're going to come out of it. And there's so many modalities that are really cool that can help. You've got to find the right one. That's a journey in itself. And then you can kind of move on from it. And it's going to happen again, maybe, or something. One of our kids died by suicide in October.
Sure.
And I've been working in this space for 10 years. I have so much information. I go around telling other people, how they can be there for their kids and don't fix and rescue them, all these things. But I realized it was, with all that knowledge, we didn't know it was happening in our own family. And so the last 8 months have been a blur. And it's really like I learned, oh my God, we've got this amazing program, the Creative Coping Toolkit, with all the 4 films and activities and brain science. And it's in thousands of schools and Fortune 500 companies. And you know what? I realized, like, you can't learn how to swim online. You've got to get in the water. And so we went through the program and we retooled it to make sure that everything pushes you in space, like in person with other people. We need to be around other people. We need to learn how to spot the signs and know each other. We don't need a million friends. We need the ones that are closest to us, and we need to pay attention to them and to ourselves, not with judgment, not with projecting fear, but with learning how to be there for each other, which means we got to learn how to be there for ourselves. So I actually, it's so crazy that it all happened so fast. So we're actually launching next week GG, which is it's at getgg.org. It's a free kind of mental health guide or mental wellness guide that's pulling from this toolkit that we created over the last 10 years. And now, for the first time, it's going to be available for free to individuals and families. And it's all through conversation, culturally relevant, any language. And you just can say, like, oh my God, I think my daughter's cutting. I don't know what to do. And Gigi will give you safe, guided advice. Of course, always pushing you to be in person and reach out for help.
Amazing. Sheila, at first, so sorry. I didn't know about the death in the family. So sorry to hear that. And thank you for sharing that. That is very important for everyone to listen to this, to understand like how important it is that mental health is just like any other illnesses out there, and we need to treat it. Like you said, is so right. If you break a leg, no amount of medication or something is going to treat it, is going to heal it immediately. It takes time. Everything takes time. You mentioned about the Creative Coping Toolkit. Tell us a little about that, because I
Yeah,
think it's very important for people to know, and to know how they can get access to that.
yeah, I mean, at impactfulnetworks.com, it's all there. It kind of came organically. It's a film and evidence-based mental health literacy program. And because and life is funny, right? Like I was sitting there thinking, well, if I'm going to film someone to share with the world, I better get the best, right? And so I was calling around, seeing, do you know this person? Who should I go to? And then I thought, introductions move slow. So I would just reach out directly. They would respond yes. I mean, I even got Martin Seligman, Dr. Marty Seligman is the father of positive psychology. Like I always got a yes. And it was just, that is something that gives me hope in life. Like the answer is always no unless you ask, right? But I just was starting to say, well, I can't even get through. They won't answer, whatever. I need an introduction. I was like following the rules, but the rules were too slow and I didn't know all the right people. So, yeah, just got all these amazing people, Stanford, Harvard, Common Sense Media, Child Mind Institute, Thrive Australia, Anna Freud Institute. And I thought, this is a gold mine of information. How do I share it with people in an effective way? And I've had a lot of people criticize me. Why don't you just put it on YouTube or Netflix or IndieFlix so everyone can access it? But it's not useful unless you have a conversation after and the ability with activities and other film assets to keep going. That's how you make real change is you got to create a habit.
Yeah, without the habit, I always say, so I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and I believe that God allows problems in our lives, and
They're
those problems
lessons.
are gifts to us.
Yes.
And because of he wants to build a great perseverance, a habit, because habit, you won't have a habit without a great perseverance. And through that journey, you're going to be able to have build amazing character. And
Absolutely.
only with a great character, you're going to be able to do great things in life. And I can completely see that with you, the struggles you've gone through. Even now, like the attitude you have toward it, like it's incredibly amazing. I truly, you're inspiring me to think about to say, well, there's a lot more to do. We got to take every single second into an action and to do great things. But it comes with knowing your why and knowing your missions. As you reflect on your works so far, is there a specific moment or a story that reminds you why this mission is so important and keeps you during challenging times? I mean, you just had this amazing challenging time with your.
Well, you're very kind. Two things. One is I was really bullied as a kid, being Chinese, growing up in a Colorado mining town, Breckenridge, when it was a ghost town, basically. I was the only kid of color, and I was really like, but good old fashioned bullying, kicked, sit on, pushed in the snowbank, and I was locked in a cupboard once in the classroom, and I stayed there the whole afternoon because I was so ashamed to like let anyone know I'd gotten locked in there. And when the bell rang, I kind of was hoping the janitor would come around. I got let out. But I had a lot of time to think in there. And I thought, if they just got to know me, they wouldn't hate me so much. And I'm going to devote my life to making sure no one ever feels the way I feel right now. Of course, I did not do that because I spent the next 30 plus years just wanting to be invisible and not attract attention so that I wouldn't have that. It was a survival thing. But when this one film, Finding Kind, came across my desk and they needed finishing funds and help getting it out into the world, I watched it in my living room as a DVD, rough cut. And the first thing I wanted to do was to talk to someone. And I realized I'm going to take it up to my kids' school. I'm going to help them finish it, take it to my kids' school, and just screen it and see what happens. And it just transformed the community. And before we could figure it out, schools were calling, and we suddenly went from, 20 school screenings to thousands of school screenings, literally around the world. And that is I realize the power of story, the power of movies, and you're an active listener. You're taking in information no matter how tough it is to hear. And then the first thing you want to do is kind of apply that knowledge. And so watching in space, like with people in your community right next to you, they've seen it too. So you can have that conversation in carpool or the lunchroom or, It's funny how corporations are using it because parents saw it at school and brought it to work. And they use it now for their employees and their families. And now people are calling their EAP and wanting to engage more with preventative benefits. So this has all just been a journey that's unfolded. And every movie I've made, I thought I was making it for someone else. And I realized that I was making it for me. The Gigi has taught me, Gigi is the tool that's launching on the 7th of July, that if we could teach everyone to seek help, the world would be a different place. But we all sit in this isolation and silence and we free fall and we're afraid and we're ashamed and we judge ourselves, let alone forget judging other people. We're hardest on ourselves. And so I learned that that is one of my biggest problems is I don't know how to seek help. I'm working on it, but it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate. I can relate with those struggles, Sheila. You're a true inspiration. Thanks for all of the work that you're doing. This is a short format conversation. I would love to continue
We we
this conversation.
went over.
uh, but I always ask this last question to my guests, and this question is about what does the word bold mean to you?
That. So, one of my favorite quotes of all time is "Be bold, and mighty forces will come." And so, to me, it means safety, but strength and courage, and not judgment and fear. Like there's no time for that. There's a sense of urgency with bold, and it's simple and
I love
uncomplicated.
it. Love it. Keep it simple, but be urgent. Sheila, great seeing you. Be
Thank
great
you, Em.
always, and be
You
bold
too.
always. And
Thank you.
bless you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.